We have to roll and get some initials last name, but I can't do that because there's two signals there, so it's.
Thank you for coming. We do have a quorum, so we'll get started right at 6. We still are waiting on one board member.
Not 100%. Sure. But we have one person on Zoom, so at least we know that that's. Right, and the owl is watching, so. The owl is watching.
Okay, 6 p.m. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Do I have any agenda modifications? That does include the consent agenda. If anyone's never seen a consent agenda before, it means that this item would be approved with the approval of the agenda. If anyone would like to pull the item from the agenda and actually discuss it, that's acceptable. You're allowed to do that. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Or,
No, I wanna make a motion to take action item 2 to a future meeting, we'll hit them at one time.
okay, well, I don't know how much time we might have tonight, but sure, we can bump it to another meeting.
So make a motion to take action item number 2.
That'd be that. Okay, any objections? Does anyone want to review this? Permit, is there something that already exists? Okay, awesome. Moving on to the minutes. Did everyone review the minutes? Are there any changes to the minutes? No? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
No.
Thank you, Tracy. I had Chris as the second. Awesome.
You know,
Any objections to the approval of the minutes?
I can't vote.
Yeah, so Stephanie and Chelsea will stay. Chris, did you get that? There's 3 abstentions. Awesome. Okay, moving on to Rep's report. Let's see, Moana here, Moana. Yeah, I think you're like the only one tonight, so yeah, go for it. Good to see you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Moana. I'm the Senator Glover Pearson's office. It feels like I've been not here for quite some time, but I guess that's what happens when you come quarterly. Just a couple of things. I know you're not here to see me, so I'm gonna make this really quick. A couple of things out of our office. 8 of our 9 bills did come off of the governor's desk. He chose to veto just one of our bills. I don't know what he has against healthy kids' diets in the restaurant, but that's the one he vetoed. We have a lot happening out of our office. Upcoming this month, we've got a men's health awareness webinar. I did bring some flyers for folks that like the tangible, but if you go to our website, you can access it there too. That is happening on November 18th. November 22nd is our annual turkey giveaway. That is going to be located in Claremont this year. We rotate on the 22nd. I've got flyers for that as well. It's open to everybody. It is first come, first served, so get there early. We've got some volunteer positions for that. If anybody's feeling like they want to get out there and get some turkeys, that's always a good one. And then lastly, we have a Healthy Hearts, Healthy Mothers maternal wellness event December 3rd. And outside of that, give you these flyers. Always good to see you folks, but if I don't see you, because this will probably be the last time you see me this year, I want to wish you all a happy holidays, but that doesn't mean I'm too far away. You can always call me, text me, smoke signal, telepathy, I'm here for you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for our state senator's office?
Don't be scared, I won't bite.
What was the veto item?
It was children's healthy kids options in restaurants. Like more fruit and veggies in restaurants. But you can access all of our bills via our website.
Awesome, thank you, Rhonda. Sweet. Okay, so Manny, our representative from Councilmember Campbell's office, has unfortunately been also assigned to Mission Beach. And the Mission Beach Parks Board meets the same day as us, so he will be trading off in between months, so Mission Bay Parks Committee was this month. So I have the emailed updates and I'll read them to you now. At the beginning of October, Councilmember Campbell joined Mayor Todd Gloria and the Housing Commission for the grand opening of 62 new affordable housing units in the Midway at Pacific Village. This was the former Ramada Inn and was purchased and refurbished by the Housing Commission with an $18 million Home Key Project state grant. On October 27th, Councilmember Campbell joined the Chief of Police, Parks and Rec staff, and other city leaders for the official Officer Austin Macheater Memorial Park sign reveal ceremony in North Claremont. He gave his life protecting our city and you get a flag for that. The City of San Diego's Division of Cultural Affairs is accepting applications.
This meeting is being recorded.
For two archery culture funding programs for fiscal year 20. Our council member's office for more questions. I do not believe I got a report from the mayor's office. Oh, no, I did. The Privacy Advisory Board meeting the Privacy Advisory Board will be meeting on November 5th at 5:30 and to review the license plate reader program, if anyone is interested in that meeting. Okay, and Balboa Park parking update. On Wednesday, November 5th, our office will be presenting an item linked to the prices of monthly, quarterly, and annual parking passes at Balboa Park. Additionally, new special events fees will also be presented at this meeting. So if you're at all interested in the parking fees going up, call into city council tomorrow. Okay, yeah, that's it from the mayor's office. Did I miss any reps in the crowd? Anyone sneak in while I was reading from my email? Awesome. We'll move on to non-agenda public comment. Is there anyone in the public seeking to make a non-agenda public comment? I will allow you 2 minutes of time. Okay, wonderful. You'll be moving right along. Okay, move it.
I have a public comment.
Yeah, go for it, Chelsea.
I just wanted to say, I went to the meeting this morning, First Church, which was the COP community event. I don't know if people heard about that, but James Harris was there, who's usually here. I'm guessing he's like maybe down the street or whatever's going on, but Officer James was there and another officer, Tiffany, was there, and they basically went over the Get It Done app and reports. I just thought some of it, I took some notes on some stuff I thought was valuable. If you don't have the Get It Done app, you know, you can figure out how to get that, but they encourage citizens to use that. But one of the tips he gave is just making sure you're really specific. Like sometimes they'll get reports that'll say like white van in the Dog Beach parking lot, and they drive through and there's like 20 white vans, right? So, or, you know, like encampment, right? And they don't know, is it the orange tent? Is it the blue tent? Is it this and that? So if you're doing a Get It Done report for vehicle, whatever it is, accuracy, clear description, pictures, you know, maybe close up and zoned out. So those were kind of just some tips. They do have to, I guess, I didn't know this, but they have to go physically go try to address every report, which kind of seems like a waste of time if it's not a good report with enough detail, but they have to go. So if they have to go somewhere, because we say encampment on Marina Boulevard, you know, they have to go and then they don't really have anything they can address, right? Like they don't know what it is. Also, this I thought was interesting, if you're reporting, say, like 3 vehicles in habitation, they should each be a separate report, because if it's all in one report, they can't close that report out until they've kind of addressed everything. So if you can do reports separately for separate issues, that helps them be more efficient. What else? Couple more things. Parking enforcement, those are currently getting responded to in about a day, though that crew's working overtime. Illegal dumping in alleyways is getting addressed pretty quickly. He said they're trying to address that, so people aren't just having mattresses sitting in alleys. I think those are the most noteworthy notes that I have. That's it.
And I'll repeat my public service
Yeah.
announcement that I gave in that
Sure.
meeting this morning. Public service announcement. If you see a dangerous condition of public policy, such as a broken sidewalk curb or down Newport Avenue where the storm drains are, or an uneven sidewalk slab or a hole in the sidewalk where somebody could slip and trip and fall. When you use the Get It Done app, be sure to be very specific on the exact location, take photographs, and in your description of the condition, describe it as a dangerous condition of public property that could result in serious injury to someone. Right now, they're about a year and a half out on fixing these things, but if you do that, when the person falls and gets injured, the city won't have a defense when they get sued for the injury, because once they're on notice that there is a dangerous condition of public property, they have to fix it. And so be specific, and maybe that'll motivate them to fix these things in less than a year and a half. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, for resident lawyer. Okay,
Um,
anyone else seeking to make a non-agenda public comment?
I
Yeah.
do have
Hi
some-
there, can you hear me?
Sure, you have 2 minutes starting now.
Is this me? Are you on me
Yes.
on Zoom?
Meredith, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm mainly just testing sound and following up on Craig's presence at the meeting tonight. The planning commission will be discussing,
Well, we're talking
some
about
of-
that at the next agenda item, that's not a non-agenda.
oh,
public-
that's the actual planning commission meeting, like the details. Are you gonna talk about that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, can you hear me? Because we're doing tech evaluation.
Stay
Great.
tuned. in
Okay,
10 minutes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith.
Well, it works.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Okay.
Okay, moving on to the first item. As many of you may or may not know, about a year ago, we appealed a project over on Point Loma Boulevard up to the planning commission, and the planning commission ruled in the appellate's favor that no complete community programs would go forward in historically designated zones. When this project was approved, the Development Services Department gave us code language that the city has now copy and pasted into a code update. That would allow complete communities to come and be on any lot that is not part of the beach cottage. We're the emerging historical cottage district. So if you don't have your home designated as a historical beach cottage, then your home could possibly be allowable for complete communities. So they're doing this specifically to Ocean Beach and Old Town, I believe, as well, like one of the neighborhoods right around Old Town. They're bringing them back in specifically in response to our appeal. The planning commission will be hearing this language this Thursday in the morning at Mission Valley. I think their meeting started at 9 a.m. or 1. It's 9 a.m. Yeah, 9 a.m. And their meetings are now at Mission Valley at the DSD office. They're no longer downtown. So we will be responding since this is something that directly impacts our community. After the planning commission will go to land use and housing, and then it will come up in front of city council. I did reach out to our council member, obviously, and she says, or her staff said she doesn't know anything about it and she doesn't have an opinion. So we're getting in front of it, so maybe we can help her form an opinion. Can we read the language? I believe I copy and pasted it.
Right there on the screen. Is that it? Can you read that okay?
Oh, yes, okay. I was like, highlighting. Okay, sure. Application of complete communities housing solutions within emerging historical districts and thematic historical districts The proposed amendments clarify that the complete community's housing solution regulations apply in thematic and emerging historical districts if the property is not a contributing resource to the historical district. The proposed amendment do not change how emerging historical districts and thematic historical districts have always been regulated by the city and is consistent with the Historical Resource Board procedure on establishing historic districts, which was last updated in 2011. The Ocean Beach Cottage Emerging Historical District includes beach cottages constructed between 1887 and 1931 that have been volunteered by the property owner for designation. Regarding the Ocean Beach Cottage Emerging Historical District, the Historical Resources Board procedure on establishing historical districts states a complete intensive survey was never completed and therefore all eligible contributing properties are not known. Owners of properties which fall within the context statement and period of significance may bring their properties forward for designations as contributors to the district. Only those properties identified and designated as contributors are currently regulated. Because the Ocean Beach Cottage District does not have a full intensive survey, it's based on a context statement and period of significance and is limited to those properties that fall within the context and period that are volunteered by the property owner for designation. Convergence of this district to a standard geographic district is not feasible. Therefore, the district will continue to be regulated under the prior policy. Property owners may continue to bring properties forward for designation under the established context and period of significance, and the district shall remain voluntary in nature. The proposed amendments provide clarification to code language that was misinterpreted. The proposed amendment reflects the fact that only contributing resources are regulated in emerging historical districts and thematic historical districts, and that therefore complete communities housing solutions can be utilized on properties within the boundaries of the Ocean Beach Cottage Emerging Historical District and Chinese Asian Thematic Historical District if the property is not a contributing resource to the district. Do I have any other board comments that maybe you want to address the meeting before I open up to public comment and then go back to board discussion? This is how I want to run that. I don't want opinions, but maybe just anything else before I go to public comment, or do you want to take public comment first?
I'll just offer that I've read the old HRB resource guys, whatever they're called in here. All of that stuff in relation to that project, so I do know most of what the city is relying on in this effort, so.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open it for public comment. Can I just get a show of hands who wants to speak so I can maybe come up with a good time limit? Yeah, okay, so I can keep you guys like 2 minutes then, if that's okay. Great, I'll start to the front and work my way back, so.
Just remind me that it does want to speak back to.
Okay, I will come to those people after I finish with the people in the room. You can start anytime, I'll start your time when you start.
If you could stand kind of like in front of the front door so the owl can find you. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, everybody, my name is Kobe Machado, I'm with the Ocean Beach Community Foundation. So my question for y'all is, it said in that statement that no study had been done initially. Is there any way we could petition the city in that case to pursue that study so we can find all potential properties prior to them doing this? Because in my mind, if there are properties out there that are known to, that should be part of it and aren't, the onus is kind of on the city there for having set this up and not found all of them. So like, is that something that's viable for us to push for, or?
They're after,
Okay,
but
fair enough.
it's certainly a new idea.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else? Yeah. Okay. Craig. Working my way back.
Well, I'm Craig Klein. I was one of the main people, along with Lynn Miller and Barbara Bolton, who presented the appeal to the planning commission last August. And I would ask that the board argue strongly that the contiguous boundaries of the district should be the guideline, because what the city is doing by restricting it to individual cottage here, cottage there, is it'll end up with the destruction of the entire neighborhood, because under the city's construction of how these things should be, set up in the new language. You have your historical cottage here. And you have your 5-story, no parking, 35 unit ADU right next door. And then maybe 2 doors down, there's another historic cottage, can't touch that one, build another 40 unit ADU next to it. And so. If the intent, and I believe this was the intent of the historical district and. Priscilla McCoy, God bless her soul. That was to maintain Ocean Beach with a certain ambiance that had a lot of small cottages and other eclectic structures in a small format. That's part of the reason we had a restrictive FAR 0.70 in the zoning here, to stop people from doing that. And it's an end run around the zoning, it's an end run around the FAR. And if the language is allowed to be enacted in the municipal code, it'll be an open door for the developers to come in here and just destroy Ocean Beach. And so you'll just have a historic cottage with a giant ADU next to it, and the same thing on every block.
Use your name on the line. Yeah, okay, if you wanna come forward though, so that Alex can kind of hear you, thank you.
I'm on the Ocean Beach Historical Board, I was on the Peninsula Planning Board, but there's so much more to this than just the cottage, like Craig was saying. But with it also goes our history, and we talked with Soho, and they really need to do a whole thing on all of Ocean Beach and its history, because we have Church Row, we should be making the whole district historical if it was my choice. We've got a library that part of it that they're saving is 100 years old, 99 years over at the school. We have a whole bunch of, and then you look at the history of Wonderland, the biggest amusement park on the West Coast. You look at the people here, we had the first female surfer, we had the first champion, we had the second champion, we had the 66 champion. These were all women. You know, I mean, we have such a history here. The zoo started from Wonderland. The animals ended up going up, and Collier sold them the animals. The zoo started. Comic-Con, there was a store down here with these guys starting a store and started Comic-Con, one of the biggest money raisers for San Diego. You need a place like this for creative people, and a lot of them love living in the cottages. They don't want to live in a small room high-rise. And this place is really special, you know. Santa Cruz and Berkeley, they're losing theirs too, you know, and it's important. It's more than just the cottages, but a lot of these cottages have had musicians and artists and a lot of famous creative people in them. We have generations that have gone back 5 generations. I wrote the OB book. I wrote OB Where Land and Water Meet. Read them. We had avocado trees here that are 100 years old and still producing. Anyhow, we need to protect OB.
Good evening, my name is Pat James, I'm also a board member of the Ocean Beach Historical Society, and I worked with Priscilla on the creation of the emerging historic cottage district. Didn't really get involved with the nuts and bolts, mostly just in the way of providing her with printing and attending a few of the HRB, Historic Resource Board meetings. I saw this woman, in her senior year, so driven to create this program. She went around and she identified every cottage that she thought would fit the criteria that she had worked out with the Historic Resource Board. So I'm having a hard time believing that they don't have that information. I think maybe that's just been conveniently shuffled into a filing cabinet somewhere. I'm hoping we can find some more documentation in our archives. But yeah, this woman was amazing, and for her to pull this off is really quite an incredible thing. It's just really disheartening to see that taken away from us. It's not all. So, thank you.
Yeah. Do I have any other public comments?
Question.
Yeah, go for it.
I heard that if you had a cottage now, or a bungalow, and you want to find a store, that it costs $2,700 to do that. And is that, it's a lot more than 2,700? How much
Yeah,
is it?
it is. It's like $10,000.
50 to 100,000,
What did you say?
50 to 100,000, you'd have to update the structure to being entirely as it was and get their approval and do all the hoops that. They would make you get plans approved to the original structure.
No one's gonna do that.
It's very expensive, yeah, and you're gonna,
I don't think that actually was pertained to the way our program is ran, 'cause it was totally unique. That might be for like a full regular designation, but. Our program wasn't so restrictive. And it was. Pretty viable until they started charging excessive inspection fees, that just kind of take the incentive out of it, so. It's just kind of fell by the wayside, actually, but there's still about 70 cottages.
My point sort of was.
Yeah.
If we wanted to increase the number of cottages so that viable historic district, it couldn't be done, people can't sort of do it, and that sounds to me like discrimination. I think that this whole equity and inclusion thing is a great idea, but that's not what's happening, we're being excluded, and this was historically a low-income district, and we provided the original affordable housing here, right? Because we were low income and people who wanted to live at the beach too, and now that's being taken away, so I don't know. I think we need to be all that.
Thank you. Any other?
Can I ask you what you saying?
She has a little bit of time left, sure. Oh, no, she has 5 seconds left.
Okay, they have 300 cottages on that list,
All right.
but there were people who lived here a long time and they had very low taxes, and they didn't do it for that, but a lot of them are possible to be on that list. They can also get historical significance.
Do you think there's about 400 cottages? Or
Well, there were around 300 on the original list that were eligible, but like I say, Priscilla did this in the 80s and 90s, and there were still a lot of people that were 80 or 90, and they were having low tax bills because of that, so they didn't want to do this because it would actually up their taxes. And there are a lot of historic beyond this 300 here that should be eligible. They still have a lot of the original stuff with them. And so as far as I'm concerned, it would be neat if more of them.
Yeah.
Actually, and there have been
Yeah.
some that have applied for it and not it.
Yeah.
That weren't on the list.
Okay. Have to move on. Who, someone had their hand raised? Yes.
Is
We're
it my
asking
turn
you
now?
to make a Motion to object to this proposal. If you have driven through any other communities, have you seen what's being built under complete communities? That will be OB. We don't want it here. We need to do several things. But right now, I'm asking you to document your objections. Do you know what those buildings look like? Have you seen it? We've OB, we haven't got them. Linda Vista's got them. Golden Hills. And Golden Hills just got a TRO, stop work order. The judge saying, once this is built, never can get rid of it. Think about that. How are you gonna get rid of 190 units? You can get rid of a cottage pretty easily. Golden Hills is fighting 3 older cottages, not right across the street from the historic district, being replaced by 190 units, very low parking. Somebody make a motion. You oppose this. Secondly, I'm asking 2 things. Please file a comment on the planning committee's, the city of San Diego web forum. We need to show the planning committee that we care. Coastal Caretakers has a website. It's called OB San Diego 92107 with all the ways to post those comments. We only had a little notice. We didn't know about it
we have not got all the comments that we had in August 2024. If you have a mailing list of any sort, ask them to comment. If people can go to the meeting, go to the meeting, speak at the meeting. This will destroy Ocean Beach. It's not about those words. And I ask you for your support in objection to this plan.
Do I have any other in-person public comments before I move on to virtual, and then I will move on to board discussion, and once we move to board discussion, I'm not gonna let you talk. No, not to be rude, but yeah, we're gonna be discussing that. No? Okay, we're gonna move on to virtual then.
Hey Meredith, we're gonna go ahead and unmute yourself and
Yes.
get ready to talk.
Hello, Lynn Miller had asked me to share a video, but I don't think there's time since everyone it's a 2-minute, 15-second video. But I don't think we're gonna have time for that unless she really wants me to. Can you holler out, Lynn?
Yeah, I was talking about the meeting on the 6th, not this meeting, so we don't. need to- Thanks, Mary.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Well, we cleared that up, but it doesn't hurt for this audience either. There is a video, it's on YouTube, a very professionally done video catering towards developers, saying you can buy up Ocean Beach and turn it into this. And that's pretty much what the video says. And it's a bit upsetting. So we can get that to anybody who might be interested in seeing that. And actually that same video came up at the Planning Commission in 2024, when the Planning Commission acknowledged the historical designation of Ocean Beach and put a halt to the first complete community development being built in Ocean Beach. There are ways that people can contribute to this upcoming Thursday meeting, ways you can contribute your opinions, that is, without actually going to the facility in Mission Valley and attending in person, which you can do. We can get that addressed to you. It is also possible to attend online. There's a Zoom link. And you can present online. You can't seed minutes online, but you can present on the agenda item virtually. And then there is also the web form where you can type up a paragraph and send that off to the Planning Commission, and supposedly they look at it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other virtual or agenda comments for this item? No? Okay, great. Chris, do you want to start off our discussion? Or is there someone who does want to start off the discussion, and I'll then go around out from there?
The first one,
Does anyone else want to speak? Does anyone else want to start?
Start.
Oh, Virginia, go for it.
Well, point out, it appears that we are exempt now as it stands, so we want to maintain that exemption from the communities, at least I feel strongly about that. And I would say Ocean Beach is already a complete community, and if we look at what the objectives are, will be affordable housing, walkability, and so on. We have that already. We have almost every lot that seems to have an ADU on it, whether it's been there, put there recently or over the past few decades, as it was needed. So we have small units for young people or older people. We have the cottages and bungalows for small families to bring up their children. We have historic resources, historic award-winning school. We have a library that's historic and it's fully funded already for an expansion without asking the city for the money. And we have a retail district. We have Church Row, as you said. We can get anything we want in a community, we can have by walking there or riding a bicycle. So. Yeah, that's my position is that we are a complete community and we don't need someone coming in and. Anything they build, anything they try to improve, they're just gonna be having to wreck something first. Tear things down and disrupt the balance that we have, which has evolved over 100 years. So, everyone, if you feel strongly about it, please speak up. By Thursday.
Thank you, Virginia. Okay, Chris, I'm leaving it open-ended. As to which Chris.
Got hard to go after that, but I agree, I mean, I'm still relatively new here, you know, a little over 8 years in this community, but it's an amazing community, you can get anything anywhere within, you know, bike or walking distance, it's a very unique, community in that way. And it needs to stay that way.
Tracy?
My questions are, so most of you know I've lived here for over 25 years, and my parents lived here before me, and I'm just curious what it is that we're trying to save. And that, not in a bad way, but a lot of the properties here that might be deemed historic are incredibly rundown. They may not be taken care of very well. They may be in trust that nobody cares about anymore, and it's just sitting there rotting. If we're going to try to be a historic district and improve the area and make these properties historic so that they don't look like dilapidated shacks somewhere, then we need to encourage the city to give Ocean Beach Historic District homeowners a cheaper rate or some way to improve their properties. We have to make it a benefit for them, or else they're never going to improve them. And they're just gonna continue to fall down and be eyesores in the community. And that's not what we want. We want these historic buildings to be renovated and to be cleaned up and not like we have squatters in some of the areas that, you know, are old. And it's like, we don't, as a community, we're fighting against that all the time. So if we can come up with some way to say, we still want the historic district to be all encompassing. But we also need a way for people to be able to afford to do these renovations, or else we're gonna be a historic district of rundown shacks. And 3-story pristine buildings, because the people who don't wanna designate their properties as historic are probably going to keep them run down, or they're going to sell them. And they're going to sell them to developers. And then we're gonna have what, you know, Craig and everybody is mentioning, where you have a 30-foot, 40-foot building that's pristine and stucco next to a dilapidated shack that nobody wants to like spend the money to fix because it's too expensive. So I would rather keep Ocean Beach, but we have to think about the people who own those properties and what they're willing to do and what they're willing to pay, and see if the city can help people improve these Ocean Beach historic buildings instead of just letting us rot. That's
Andre,
just,
I know you said no for everything, but
Craig,
may I have special dispensation?
Craig,
Please.
join the board
There's something
and then you
you
can
know.
discuss it.
so that's just my thoughts, that's where I'm thinking, so anyways.
Okay. The Golden Hill ruling called into question the entire TPA, STA designation based on non-existent transit. And the reason to meet complete communities is allowed in Ocean Beach is because there's a 2035 Sandat study that says that Cable Street is going to become a dedicated high-speed transit bus line, which means no parking for cars and no cars on Cable Street. It's never going to be done, it's not funded, and Judge Wolfell ruled in the Golden Hill case that anything like that is too speculative to be allowed, and that's why they got stop work order. So the importance of that is, if this language goes in, developers are then gonna come and start trying to build using complete communities in OB. Wow, it's quite likely that the whole thing is gonna get thrown out because the transit aspect is illusory and it isn't gonna happen. And so I implore you to move to oppose this language change so that it doesn't open the door to developers building stuff when there is none of this transit that is going to happen.
Thank you, Craig. Kevin.
So, I mean, I had a part in that Complete Communities project that was successfully appealed. And I sincerely believe that the code language that was used to appeal that was an oversight on the city's part. Typically, they specifically only apply it to designated properties. Now, in order for Ocean Beach to be a legitimate historic district with a boundary, you've got to do the footwork. I don't know who does that work. We need more than 72 voluntary cottages from 20 years ago. We need a toolkit for these people. We need to market it to them. We need to tell even the out of town vacation rental owners, even them, hey, this is worth preserving. This will actually increase your value, or reduce your taxes, whatever the benefits are, and provide them the tools. That's how you preserve housing. Every project that comes here is tearing down an old dilapidated cottage, some intentionally dilapidating, and putting up a maximum 30-foot blocks. And I worry that the more that happens, the more it dilutes any possibility of becoming a historic boundary, because now you've got a bunch of stucco glass boxes that are interrupting that district. So we still have a process, a voluntary process. We need to get more homes included in that process. My question is, the city has called this a voluntary process this entire way. I don't know if that's because it's an incomplete historic district. But every single old cottage goes before the historic review board process. Maybe not the board itself, but there's a process for those because of this district. And I have not seen a single one that has been assigned or designated as historic as a result of that process. So the city is not, even the historic review board is not doing any favors to this historic district. They are bulldozing and building. And this Complete Communities is gonna open the door to monstrosities. It's gonna open the door to exceeding the 30-foot height limit at some point. And we're prime real estate for that, because in the name of affordable housing, anything goes. That's the current policy.
I just have a
Thank you.
question for him.
Specific.
Yes, so this historic board, the people who have been approving or disapproving, are they approving projects that people are actually going in and paying for and saying, I want it designated historic, and then they're just saying, no, we don't care?
I'm only speaking to the projects that want to develop, and they are forced to go there by the city, by BSD. In front of that board, but I don't think is actually a requirement. It's voluntary. Why are the city forcing it? But nothing's coming of it, so.
Barbara?
So I agree with, what everyone said as a combination, like Virginia, it's the reason that we moved to Ocean Beach is because we wanted to become part of this community. We love it. We've been coming here 30 years on vacation, and then we were finally able to buy here. Liked how protective and small this community was. On the other hand, I do see the affordability issue on maintaining these historic, we walk by them every day. Buildings, and who's gonna pay for all of that? The toolkit is great. The other point is, what have other towns done to protect those historic cottages? Have we met with other towns and their historical societies to understand what they've done to be able to protect their communities? I think getting funding from the city is probably a far stretch, getting federal funding is even more of a farther of a stretch, but is there any possible way that we can oppose this and have it rewritten? And why is it voluntary? If it's a historic building, the city should come in and designate it regardless of who the owner is, regardless of whether or not the owner wants it as a building. If it's a historic building, it is, so designate it and don't let them tear it down. And figure out some kind of solution with the city, state, or federal funding. To figure out how to bring it back to its natural state.
Stephanie?
Yeah, I do have a little to say, to answer your question, no, historic city staff doesn't just say, no, we don't care, this isn't historic, there's like a whole process. I worked in historic preservation for almost 10 years, I'm very passionate about it. The house my husband and I bought, is a designated, beach cottage. We bought it, it had unpermitted structures that, were taken away from its historic integrity. And we worked to restore it back to its original footprint and exterior facade, so it is possible. A lot of the homes I do see, just by looking at them, I could tell that they would be, designated historic. It doesn't always take all of this money, it is on the homeowner, so typically what happens is a homeowner will want to do some type of work to their home, they go to the city, and then because it's 45 years or older, it gets pinged to the historic board. And then that's when the historic board, requests and requires, a historical report. I worked at a firm where it's a lot of money, costs $6,000, that's just at that firm, it's a very extensive report, they go through ancestry.com, they go through newspaper clippings, they contact previous owners if there's pictures. All of this goes into the report if it's done well. And then from the report, the historic city staff can make a conclusion. Yes, this is historic, or there isn't significant information to designate it to be historic. So just because something is old doesn't mean it is historic. So what's going on with a lot of these homes is that they haven't been brought to the city to have that chance to be reviewed. I have seen the city where if enough information isn't provided on the report, they will request more, so that does happen here and there. I have seen cases where there's argument that a home is not historic and the city goes against it, so it really depends on the integrity of the home and if it is, so there's just like a lot of moving parts to it. If anyone is interested, there is a website, it's called CRID, I think .gov, CHRID. The search engine is finicky, so you really have to be persistent at how you search properties. But it works for all of California, and you could search by APN or street address, and if the property is designated historic, it will be listed and it will have the full historic report, the city approved document, and it'll go through all of the good stuff. So back to complete communities, I've seen a lot of projects that have used complete communities to build projects. It's all incentive based, and for the most part, they're pretty horrendous. They just maximize square footage and units, and there's verbiage about having affordable housing, and typically you really only need one per building that kind of like completes the count. And then it's, it's section 8, which is like a whole nother thing that you have to be that you could be able to apply for, so not everyone qualifies for that. Yeah, so I'm not for that at all, for that language, for that verbiage. And then, another thing, there are incentives, so once your home is designated historic,
you could then go and apply for the Mills Act. And that's basically, if you do get it approved, that's a contract between the homeowner and the city. And what the city makes you do is for the next 10 years out, they make you plan renovations and restorative work that you plan to do to the home. So it could be roof work, it could be painting, it could be this. And I've seen where if homeowners don't do that, they get heavily fined, but if they do, they get these tax breaks. So that's the incentive. But again, it's at the cost of construction, which is extremely high. I think it's like $700 a square foot right now, and it's just going up and up. So that's. So pre-doc.
Yeah.
Can you spell it again? CHRID. Dot. It should be dot though.
Kyle?
Well. Hello, everyone. Yeah. So the board has already written down 5 cottages. Up to 14 that I've identified. Each one of these received full board support.
Okay.
So. What the city is saying is consistent, we've always only regulated contributing resources, and it's always been voluntary. And this board has supported the demolition of historic cottages. Not necessarily this one, I haven't. Personally, but going back in time, I uncovered a bunch that we have voted and supported. So what the mayor is trying to do here is give you an opportunity to be proactive and say, these are the ones we want. These are the ones we want. But when you're reactive and you're claiming that something is a cottage that's not a cottage, and then the board is voting to demolish contributing resources, the mayor just stuck up for the 30-foot height limit in PB. Yes, he did. So what?
Be for a reason.
No, just, not for reason, just, it's just, I can feel it.
Okay.
No, I can just feel it, that I don't know where this extremism is coming. Tonight, I heard from the community 7 stories, that's not possible. 5 is not possible. He is trying to build apartments under the 30-foot height limit, which is what's been built in Oceans Beach since the very beginning, all the other places, you're just having. So. I go back to what I said with reactive. I support the 30-foot height limit, so does the mayor. And I support putting apartment buildings where there aren't historic cottages. And the final point is I'm just gonna let this speak for a second. This is going to my letter of support for planning commission. I honestly don't want to fight with anybody or argue. I just wanna let that all, and it has to be available to the public if anybody wants it. And it needs to go onto the website because it was in the public meeting, go to bylaws. So like you say, read my letter if you wanna read it, because I'll make it how that.
Every single one of these properties was not designated historic, cleared the HRB. Including every single other project that's ever come in front of me.
Kevin, you're cutting off Chelsea's time.
I have you on record saying that OB is run down and needs to be redeveloped, so I don't.
Kevin, it's Chelsea's time. Thank you.
It's okay. I think everyone's points are good, but, I guess I'll say this, so. You know, to Tracy's point, I agree that I don't think OB has a tendency to want things to just kind of sit and rot, right, and not be touched. And there's a lot of Lamborghini building of whenever that was built, the apartments, I know people hated that building because, but you can't just let things sit and rot. That being said, even without complete communities, each property is going to always be desirable and things, people will always want to develop and improve. So I guess my point is I'm for development and improvement. I mean, I look at some of these, Tyler gave us, things that were cottages that were developed. I mean, that was a cottage that went to 2 units, right? That's not 30 units. So I think without complete communities, you will still get.
So it's not about
improvement
cottages,
over time.
it's about keeping.
Right, it's about keeping, you know, I think you can, developers are still, beach communities are always gonna be desirable to developers. There's always gonna be people with rundown cottages that will want to sell to somebody that wants to improve the property, and I guess the point for that, I am not for the. You know, let's cram 30 units in a single lot, and I do think there are places that are more fitting for that in the area, like the Midway District, which already has planning, right, like it's a generally, it's a what do you call it, like a industrial, you know, it's not, like, there are places where we can do this, where it's not gonna take away from the integrity of the community as it would. I guess that's. all I was saying.
Chris?
Sure, I don't have any hands. I have the three main points and Virginia laid it out really well. I don't know if you want to caught it, but the reality is this is existing language. And we should run with it. And this is a scary time. I think this is exactly the language we want to preserve. And the reason why is, I think the distinction has to be made between declaring a residence a historical building versus a district. I've been doing recent work, arts district designation here in San Diego. And there's really the criteria for what creates a district versus what is a historical designation on your particular residence can be different. All you have to do is use your eyes. We are in, not an emerging historical district, we are in a historical district. Just look around, I mean, the majority, the per capita of what you're seeing here, called bungalows, called cottages. We're in a historical district, you don't have to read the history books, you just have to, again, use your eyes on the structures that are here. So I think the language, we should take advantage of the fact that, I don't know if it was an oversight, regardless, it's there and it deserves our support. Second point, this is not NIMBY, right? This board, the project review committee approves projects all the time, so to call this out. I'm not referring to those necessarily, I'm referring to projects where it is our authority and our responsibility to review the projects that come forward and make sure they adhere to the city, to the community plan of Ocean Beach. So we're doing that, and that's our job, we're tasked with that, so that we aren't seeing these, you know, mega structures, things that are built up to every square inch that have no designation and no differentiating facade. That's what we're on doing, we'll continue to do. It doesn't mean we shouldn't look the gift horse in the mouth that already exists, that calls us what it is, which is a historical district. I'm gonna just give personal anecdotes now. I've worked with world, architects and designers at the airport for 5 years. These folks have come here and every single one of them, having traveled the world and done projects in the history books themselves, have said, what a unique community this is. And the first words out of their mouth almost always are the bungalows and the low-lying nature of many of the homes, but followed quickly by the diversity of the folks that live in these homes and work here. So anyway, this is a historical district, we should definitely take full advantage of the language as it exists and make it known our reasons as to why. And I'll just clarify again, if you have a residence that you're working to take through the steps that Stephanie outlined, including all the way to Mills Ave, fine. But this is a district, and even if they're not those folks who are taking their own personal residence through those steps, you should still be designated as one unit.
Chris?
Chris just said, so. Just also that I know I do truly believe that there's a lot of interest involved in the communities of none of them really involved Ocean Beach interests, and having Ocean Beach being part of that is just been invite all those interests into our community, really take away from our community system. What was the day?
And that is, I've the application, I've read it. And the title is not the whole story, it's 40 pages, includes the churches, tourist accommodations, all the historic things that Kathy Wabba talked about. Maybe we should change the title of the district, but it is not only historic cottages that this application, which was approved, says. It's all the things that Kathy Rabbit said, and that is the district that was approved. And that's part of what we will submit to planning committee. So be aware of that.
Thanks. Okay, so I went through our maps today, our zoning. The city's maps as well, and although all of Ocean Beach is a TPA, only parcels west of Sunset Cliffs would qualify under complete communities, because those are the only ones zoned for more than 20 dwelling units per acre. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am personally very concerned about sea level rise and the continued flooding and disregard for how climate change continues to impact our community. We currently have an apartment building that is falling off a cliff right now, and the cliffs aren't gonna stop eroding. The sea isn't gonna stop rising. The tide isn't gonna start flooding us every January and December. And I don't want to continue to build in the areas that are going to be the most susceptible to the climate change we're already seeing. This isn't some conceptual what's gonna happen. We're seeing the impacts of climate change now. And to try and put density immediately, to put a large scale of density in an area that is already being impacted by climate change, is stupid. You know, it's, and you can call me a NIMBY all you want, but unfortunately my backyard has a sinkhole and I can't build there. So I think we should try all of our efforts to, you know, stop complete communities from coming in, again, west of Sunset Cliffs. These are the only parcels where this is applicable. You know, that would up us our FAR to 2.5, and sure, Todd Gloria says right now, he doesn't support the 30-foot height limit for a 120-story building going in PB, but you can't build to an FAR of 2.5 if you don't go over the 30-foot height limit. And, you know, so he doesn't like the 100-foot tall building in PB. Who cares about a 40-foot tall building in Ocean Beach? You know, it's just unrealistic with the way complete communities is written to not think that they're going to start approving buildings eventually over 30-foot tall. And again, I don't understand what this is. None of these are contributing resources. The Historical Resource Board didn't approve them. So I don't know if you were trying to get me to feel like a hypocrite, but I don't. So I will vote to approve a motion that, you know, opposes this language based on the imminence and occurring threats to our community based on climate change, as well as what Craig pointed out, the ongoing lawsuit to throw out our TPAs based on unfunded bus lines. I agree with Craig. Cable Street is never going to be a designated by bus lane. That's insanity.
Never going to
It's
be.
never gonna happen. And MTS is also cutting back. You know, they don't have any fucking money. They're gonna start cutting back on lines, and the lines that they start cutting back on are the ones that are least ridden. So even if our bus line does qualify for a TPA, we don't know if it's going to qualify for a TPA a month from now. We don't know if this lawsuit's going to go through all the way a month from now. So no, I don't support an upzoning of our community where a project might come in and then get struck down and then it's completely fucked. And I also don't support building density in places where we know people are going to move. Like, and then what, is the government gonna pay $1 billion for a seawall? Or are we going to pay to, or are the taxpayers going to pay to relocate all of these people that we allowed to be built in areas where we know are going to be highly affected by our continuing, you know, it's not even climate change. The sea is just eroding the cliffs. With or without climate change, that is happening. And all of those parcels they fall under complete communities. So that's where I'm standing. That's how I feel. That's the motion I want to support. And I guess I want to know how to support it. Thank you, Chris.
Can I question it? Cause I don't really know. What happens? Besides, we get to keep a lot of our historic properties and it makes it difficult for things to be developed, but what happens if Ocean Beach does lose its historic district as a whole? Like what happens? Does that make it hard for anybody who, okay, let me back up.
There's not any loss.
If we, if we keep the historic district, I'm sorry, I kind of okay, my brain worked backwards, so if we end up getting. Ocean Beach completely designated as a historic district. Does that mean that any improvements that we do in this area, whether they're wanted by the property owner or not? Does that mean that it is going to like be extremely difficult to do any improvements at all in Ocean Beach? Because everything will have to go through this historic district red tape?
You're asking the wrong question. The question is, should complete communities be allowed to build density in Ocean Beach? Because if it is, given the current state of the law with respect to the TPA, SDA designation and unfunded pie in the sky by and by, maybe we'll build it 10 years from now, but there's no money for it in the current funding cycle. Transit, what it will mean is complete communities can be used to build density. The developers will come in, they will rely up on the non-funded pie in the sky, it's never gonna really be built, but it says so in Santa report. And we're gonna end up with what Judge Wolfell said, which is large structures which destroy the continuity and the tranquility of the neighborhood, causing irreparable harm based on what the judge found to be speculative mass transit. That no guarantee that it's ever gonna be built. Please adopt a motion to keep the current language, thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it around.
Get more specific here.
Yeah,
Okay,
bring
so-
it around.
Hold on, I'm gonna,
Because, I mean, Craig took us on the right, he's not wrong. I know your question, and that's kind of what I was trying to differentiate. Just because we're designated as a historical district or emerging first historical district, does not mean that all the homes here have to fall under what would be the review process for a historical home change, right? And so future development would expected to adhere to that either. We're just clarifying that this is a historical district.
Well, there are
And then-
constraints though.
There are constraints, but that's what I was referring to. Our job as the planning board here to maintain the community plan, whatever additional constraints there are. It's not that every home that would be constructed or a building would have to fall under the Mills Act requirements and things like that.
so the district doesn't encompass everything, it only encompasses homes that are within a certain time.
It would encompass the whole.
And if they want those
They
properties.
call it contributing.
The Ocean
resources
Beach
and
Emerging Historic
non-contributing
District
resources.
No, no.
includes, you don't want me reading it, I know,
No, I
includes
don't
beach
think so.
cottages
Everybody
constructed
talking
between
over Kathy, Tyler.
1987.
Tyler, you need to respect people when they're talking. Don't look at me like that because now I'm cutting you off.
No,
You
Craig
want
just
to
got a bunch of
Let
extra.
Kevin talk.
Craig just got a bunch
You
of.
started talking. What don't you understand about that? 2-year-olds can understand that.
I wanna respond to
You're
Tracy's.
Kevin's son.
I'd like to respond to Tracy's question. So there's contributing resources and non-contributing resources in typical historical district. I don't know what the barriers are for the non-contributing ones, but they're not certainly expected to, keep wood windows and follow all the, historic preservation guidelines, but there is constraints. And there are constraints such as in the communities code and other density codes, including from the state, that don't allow those certain density bonus programs within those districts entirely. So you probably wouldn't see a pencil tower in a historic district in Burlingame or whatever, regardless of what was on the property as being built.
Okay, Tyler, would you like to speak?
No, Virginia.
No, I would like you to speak. I'm the chair of this board, so do you want to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Okay, then go.
Okay, thanks. So everyone keeps asking what's included in the district. It says includes beach cottages constructed between 1887 and 1931 that have been volunteered by the property owner for designation. That's what they wrote down when they wrote the district. That's what they wrote down. Okay.
Virginia. As I understand it, we have not received historical district status yet. It's not official, that's why it's an emerging cottage district. So if we allow this language to be approved, it takes away the possibility of that. We need to oppose the new language. And urge them to continue the process of approving us as a historical district. Complete the surveys, see how many cottages there are,
that qualify, that may qualify as historic. And then evaluate and award us the historic district status that would protect us from this type of. There's going to be another program that comes along. We may knock this one down. Complete communities, but there'll be another one to try and build the same thing here. But if we get our designation secured, then we'll be safe from that. But this has to be voted out.
Any more comments? There was a motion with a second. Are there any more discussions about the motion?
What was the motion?
A second. I made a motion to oppose approving this language, based on, the continued threat of climate change. We adopted a whole climate resilience plan, as well as the ongoing lawsuit that has to do with TPAs and our status as a TPA currently being up in the air.
So, sorry. So, question over,
Yeah.
so are you looking to propose it, modify it?
Modified language, no, just oppose it, just oppose it, keep the code as it is now. So that complete communities wouldn't apply. Okay. And that it wasn't a misinterpretation. Okay. Any other discussion?
Friendly language for that. I agree with everything you said in opposition. I would also add, what I said, I don't have the exact percentage, but there are so many historical cottages in other those tiers. Why wouldn't that, or I think, qualify as a historical district? So just some sort of language that outlines, there's a high percentage of cottages here, so.
Or maybe unidentified, as Virginia said, asking the city to complete the historical survey and
I don't know
identify.
how to, we can do, I agree with you, I don't know if we need to even say we're pretty formally recognizing that, and it's just here, Google Earth it.
There should be like a feasible path for those who could be designated as historical.
If they complete the survey, they're gonna verify the 71 resources. That's what you're asking.
I just included language in opposition to.
Are you offering an amendment to?
Yeah, just like a third line that would say, in addition to all the points we made under it, that there's a high percentage of, historical cottages existent to it.
That currently aren't deemed contributing resources, like, I mean,
Or
unidentified contributing resources.
Sure. I can say that again.
If they're looking at anything over 45 years old, it'd be my house problem. There's hardly anything's been built recently,
I know.
so, we have a really high, not just 70 or 80, but a really high percentage of homes built before over 45 years ago.
So I have,
Yeah,
I have more follow-up questions. So I know that somebody over here mentioned that there was 300 potentially, 300
On the
potentially.
original list that they did. The other thing too is,
So I have more,
bungalows,
okay,
but we have more bungalows than a lot of San Diego does. And right now Soho is looking at communities that have bungalows, including us. Because we do have a lot, they're old, and, a lot of people get. We have people here that can afford a lot of those bungalows that can't afford these brand new high-rise buildings.
Right.
But
So-
they have-
Thank you.
I
We do
have
have to get back to the
additional,
discussion. We're
I
running
kind of
out
have
of
some
time.
additional clarification. So is there, so if you're saying that there are 300 houses, but there's also additional resources that may be considered historic in this area, right? Is there a limit that they're gonna say, that's not enough, we don't care, we're not gonna designate this as a historic district? Or is there a cap that's like, okay, if you go above 50, then you can be a historic district, if you go over, 300, whatever, so that's another question. And then my other question was, is it only for bungalows and homes, or is it all properties in Ocean Beach? So can somebody clarify that too, like, are those included in historic district designation? Is there a minimum amount that you have to have?
If you're getting them done.
We need to ask the city to do a real survey with real historians, and it includes our history, it includes
Thank you.
the whole community as far as the things that I talked about, the schools, the library.
Thank you.
The only thing
I
I'm
need to
afraid
get
of,
back to.
the only thing I'm afraid of is if it comes back and it says there's only 70 properties and the city doesn't care. That's what I'm saying.
But we can find that.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'd like to,
say one thing.
No, we really need to just focus on board comment and continue this item. Thank you, Kevin.
I'd like to-
Again, there's a motion on the floor and I'd like to have discussion around the
Yeah,
motion,
yes.
so we can take a vote.
if, I'd like to offer in addition to Chris's amendment that the motion include language. I think it includes language now with the amendment to pursue completing the survey. But also language that complete communities projects in Ocean Beach degrade the value of a emerging historic district, or degrade the possibility of establishing a historic district.
Yeah.
Because once you just, everything has to become old before it becomes historic. And if you get torn down in that middle part, it'll never become
They
historic.
don't
So,
get a chance to get on, exactly.
and large buildings will hurt that ability to designate a specific area. It may be a smaller area than all of it. So I think that should be in the motion. The complete communities projects degrade the historic potential. Or historic, I don't know, sorry.
Eric?
Well, no, it's degrade the potential future designations
Yeah,
is there, right? Because like you said, buildings are not.
they
Degrade
they degrade the ability to, you know, protect and define it, so just.
Any other discussion on the motion? Since we have a first and a second, Chris? Did you get the whole motion? Did you get a little?
I kind of teetered off on the end there, but so I've got a motion to oppose approving the language based on the climate change threat and the completion of a survey of. What was the phrase that they were using for it? And for the resources.
Well, I think
Contributing resources?
Yeah.
change a couple other things, right? You mentioned coastal Andre, you also mentioned TPA.
Yeah.
The concern about the legality of TPAs, and then thirdly, I had mentioned. The fact that there's just a high percentages of
Of-
existing, yeah, to. Potential. Potential. Or unidentified. Sorry, Chris.
So, yeah. What do you have?
Oh, I'm gonna start.
I was like, with a more full of words.
Because we think it is important that the legality issue is the same.
Yeah. We have to read it, so start voting.
You say.
Okay, so under three things, so it was the climate change threat.
Living in a neighborhood that has a whole coastal resiliency plan and is extremely already affected by climate change. An increased amount of density west of Sunset Cliffs will only degrade. There's a reason why we shouldn't be building in floodplains.
Absolutely. It's the point for. Affordable housing and those vulnerable groups.
The second point was, there's currently a lawsuit going on with TPAs. The Ocean Beach TPA is based on a proposed bus route in the future. And if this lawsuit goes through, then we would not be designated a TPA anymore and we wouldn't be in complete communities anyway. So why would you want to change the language before we know how this lawsuit's settled? I want that verbatim too. Yeah, exactly.
He says time, do we want to finesse the language?
Yeah, no, with the ongoing TPA lawsuit, it calls into question if Ocean Beach will even be eligible for complete communities in the future. I actually had two things, and then Chris had the third thing about not knowing, because the city never completed its historical survey, we don't know how many contributing resources there are. And what is or what is not falling through the cracks, yeah,
I would say we're unclear, but what we believe is about very high percent.
oh, about 300.
I don't even know if we call it.
Yeah.
I was saying, maybe we wanna just bullet it out and then Vanessa, maybe if we all agree on these three big points, if the board agrees on that, we can come up with one, which just in the interest. Not really this time, wait, that's a
Was
suggestion.
that? Not, what is the language? What do you have, Chris?
I'm still not through yet,
That's, no, that's.
okay, thank you, so concerns with the TPA lawsuit,
Mhm.
okay. And that was just it for you then, right, so it was so the coastal resiliency plan with the increased density west of Sunset Cliffs, concerns with the TPA lawsuit.
Yeah.
Is there?
And then it was,
Okay.
we're also unsure of how many contributing resources there are. There could be up to 300 that are unknown to the city.
Yeah,
Or,
I'm
yeah.
a little shy of giving a number, I would say,
Okay.
it's important to say, but we believe there's a high percentage,
We
but there.
believe there's a high percentages of contributing resources that have not been adequately identified.
Yeah. Or maybe starting the belief, sorry, Chris, could you just say it's the board's understanding
Mhm.
that there's a high percentage based on. It's the board's understanding.
The longest motion.
Meredith was chiming in, she said there's a high percentage of detrimental to Ocean Beach.
Okay, is that the
So I
motion?
believe, alright, so, and believe there are what in,
There's a high percentage, there's a high percentage,
there is a high percentage.
or it's the board's understanding that there is a high percentage. The board's understanding, sounds a little better than believe. Understanding that there's a high percentage of contributing resources that have not been adequately identified.
Percentage, sorry,
Contributing resources that have not been adequately identified. Adequately identified.
okay.
So please remove the proposed complete communities amendment for the Ocean Beach Emerging Historic District.
Because of these
Or
three things.
we can ask that they maintain or accept status from complete communities development.
Because of these three things. Yeah,
I think that's.
there we go. That's good. That's a good way to start it. Yeah, please maintain our exempt status from complete communities based on these three contributing factors. Thank you. Goodbye. Does anyone need any more clarity on the motion?
I just, one more thing, because I did like what Kevin said about.
Okay.
Just as a
Chelsea?
fourth point that Kevin added, I mean, I do believe that then if we lose an opportunity like this, you're not gonna get that, it'd be great with these guys. So, you wanna take a stab at wording that? I think it's important.
I mean, let's say that complete communities. Projects and similar projects degrade the. Ability to pursue.
A historic neighborhood,
To
historic district.
pursue the historic district.
In the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's up to Andrew and it's a friendly note.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris said, so then.
Yeah, complete communities degrade the community's opportunities.
How about for future historic?
Communities.
I think we had a future.
Yes.
Yeah, future.
I think communities degrade the community's opportunities. The communities makes us become a historic district. We're gonna bring the conflict next meeting.
Does anyone need the motion reread to them? We can read it back.
I'll read it back. Alright, so the motion to oppose approving language based on climate change threat, coastal resiliency, the coastal resiliency plan with increased. Okay. Motion to oppose approving language based on the climate change threat. Coastal resiliency plan with increased density west of Sunset Cliffs. Concerns with the TPA lawsuit and belief. And it is the board's understanding there is a high percentage of contributing resources that haven't been adequately identified. Also, complete communities degrade our community's opportunity to become a historical district in the future.
Any questions? Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I think at the beginning when we.
Oh, the
Yeah, for-
oppose, yeah.
Oppose
The-
the
Oppose.
Oppose the-
proposed.
Oppose adopting.
Oppose adopting language. Oppose adopting. Okay.
Sorry, you had in there about doing the survey, right?
Yeah, well.
Okay. Right, did we,
We
was
have
there a part about
inadequate, you,
complete the survey to see how many buildings qualify for this? Do we have that in there? I don't know.
No,
it was,
yeah.
we're just acknowledging the fact that we don't. Know all of the contributing resources.
Right, but.
But we want to put some.
Right,
We
And
can.
this
you can
too,
put it at the end and just say, and we request that the city completes the survey to determine how many buildings qualify for a historic district within that.
That's less important, really, that takes away from.
I wanna
Well, I
ask
think it's
for-
something we're pursuing, we want to pursue. I think it's being.
I want proof.
Sounds, do the survey.
Complete the survey to determine how many buildings qualify for historic designation.
You want to specify what it's called, preservation and progress package.
we're opposed
The
to this
amendment.
language in preservation project.
The
Preservation,
amendment is officially called preservation and progress. package.
great, I think we can do that after we. Chris, will you call the vote, please?
All right,
I think
Kevin,
we all know what the vote is
Yes.
for, is anyone confused about what they're voting for right now? Okay, great.
Kevin,
Yes, and
Tracy,
Yes.
yes. Me, Chris, yes. Virginia. Right, Chris,
yes.
thanks. Chris.
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yeah.
Tyler?
No.
Right, Stephanie? Yes. Lauren?
Yes.
None of that. Yep.
Thank you. Do we have any, do we have any reports? Do you wanna give one from the OB Community Foundation or? Yeah, sure.
I don't have a whole lot to report. The big thing I have for everybody is we have the parade coming up in just over a month now. It's on December 6th. Float applications are still open. Volunteer applications open in about a week. So if you're interested in helping out at all on the day of the parade, or if you know anybody who's still interested in having a float in the parade, tell them to put their floats in now, and if you're interested in helping, keep an eye out. The application should open on the website in about a week.
What's the theme?
The theme this year is Galactic Holiday Beach Bash.
Okay, do we have any other liaison reports? Airport Norris Advisory, yeah. Yeah,
I was gonna say,
airport, yeah,
the next one, they canceled their quarterly meeting this quarter.
Okay.
Next one is November 19th, so on the board.
Chris.
Manny's, Rita talked about the grants, that are currently available and open for artists and arts organizations in town, so no folks apply. The process is increasingly getting transparent with the software, so it's a little bit more enjoyable process, so you can know the folks that apply to truthful. And then, last meeting, I gave you an update that the executive director of the Department of Cultural Affairs had resigned. Last week, there was an announcement that the internal appointment had been with the Economic Development Department
A lot of folks in the arts and culture community are not happy about that process and, one that involved community input, much less than commissions input, and, so more to come, I'm sure on that. We've got a community meeting, Thursday this week to learn a little bit more about, longstanding arts and culture director, after 7 years out, now running the arts district for the San Diego Downtown Partnership. And incoming, director, I don't remember what the title is right now, it's a, combination of, interim, well, it's not interim, it's an appointed position now, but somebody from the economic development. Within now the economic development department, formerly communications.
Tyler, transportation. please?
Quickly, the parking district, it's now tabled till 2027 for the mayor that took over control of it. I quickly mentioned last time Hillcrest was misspending their funds, I still stand by that. And that's the reason why it got pulled. They're thinking about putting it under the planning groups now instead of bids or maintenance districts or school boards, and I think that makes total sense. Just to be clear, if you read the ordinance, it does, Hillcrest spend it on landscaping, I wanna be really clear, because this is gray areas. What the ordinance says is to a limited extent, you can spend metering funds on landscaping. What that means is, if you're already doing, to me. If you're already building a parking lot and you're gonna put a median in and you wanna plant in that median, you're already doing it, so go for it. If you wanna build a parking lot and you wanna draw a circle here and do a new community garden extra, no bueno, not gonna happen. It has to be something parking related that those funds are spent for. And so that's really important if we're gonna go into doing that. And I said it at a meeting before, it has to be about access to the programs that we want at the city. It's not a way to make money. $300,000 isn't gonna do anything for anybody. So that's where it needs to go, and it's gonna be on hold until 2027 at least. The Bacon Street roundabout, we did an ad hoc committee. I just wanna say I don't wanna chair it because I've got too much going on. So someone else that's on it, please step up. And I think that's all I have. No access, so we'll do the next one. Okay.
Tracy, treasurer's
Yeah,
report.
treasurer's report. So again, I want to make it a point to thank OBCDC for the grant money that they gave us for the owl and the upgrade on the projector. That was really awesome. Then let's see, so we finally got our little stipend that the city gives us every year, but we only used $159.90 of it last year, so they just reimbursed us for that. With that reimbursement, and it looks like a $10 service charge that we got hit with, that I'm gonna go and like yell at the bank about. Our balance is $955.57. And yeah, so now we have 2 service charges, one for 5 and one for 10, and I have no idea why they didn't us. So I'm a little cranky about it. So they're gonna hear from me on Friday probably. But that's it for treasurer.
Only other thing I think would be needing to be on next month's agenda is our budget memo. It's December already, so our council office is probably already has their budget memo, so we need to get in there before budget talks start in January and February. So that'll also probably be on the agenda next month, so if you can think of any budget asks, please do bring them.
And that's under a certain amount of money?
It's the budget, it's the city budget, it's just saying what we want, like what we think we need to spend money on. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. 7:52.
Can I have some? Would you guys, like, this was a program I did, and I'm not gonna say a word, you can run it through probably in 8 minutes, but it shows some of our auditors and it